Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're very welcome to our webinar this afternoon, which unfortunately you only have myself and Neve as company. We've no guest speaker today because we're doing our judges call for the 2020 CCMA Irish Customer Contact and Shared Services Awards. So as always, we're going to give a couple of minutes for people to log in. So just bear with us while that happens. And in case you don't have it, I just have up on screen there in the background, you'll see the awards application pack, which I would certainly encourage anybody on the call who hasn't actually downloaded it yet to go and have a look at it and have it with you in front of you there if you can, because that's the document I'll really be going through for the bulk of the call. So if you want to do that, if you just go on to our awards page on our CCMA website, ccma.ie, and you will you'll see if you go into the awards 2020 the PDF there, which is the application pack there that you should be able to see with all of the awards categories and criteria. So obviously you want to make this as interactive as possible. Great to see so many people on the call and to see the level of interest that there seems to be in this year's awards. I know a lot of people have asked me, you know, how will it work? Will the awards ceremony go ahead? And certainly our plan and our hope is for it absolutely to go ahead on Saturday the 14th of November. Obviously, we don't know what restrictions will still be in place at that point in time, and we will work within whatever restrictions there may be. But certainly our hope is that we will have a gala awards ceremony. We normally, as some of you will know, have 600-700 people in the room. If we cannot have those numbers on the night, we will have whatever the numbers we are allowed to have, and obviously at that point it'll be shortlisted candidates that will get priority, and we hope that they'll be able to come. And we will obviously do some sort of a live stream of the event and make it as interactive as possible, so that if people do ultimately have to watch it at home or participate at home, we will make sure that everybody has an enjoyable evening. So so fingers crossed, but certainly working with the hotel, with the Clayton, very much our plan is to have our awards ceremony, albeit it might be smaller numbers this year. So great to see you all, and what I'll do is I'll kick straight into it. As I said, if you want to download the pack there, it gives you all of the information on the 17 categories with the criteria and the full details. And I'll just click over to the presentation now, and again I'll have a copy of this presentation on the website, so you'll be able to see that later. So just in terms of the agenda for this call, I'm sorry, for some reason, oh, there we go. So obviously you're all logged in. The chat box is there, so feel free to ask any questions. I know one of our other judges is on the call this afternoon, so Cormac, I know you're there, so if you want to tip in with any comments at any point, let me know. Lift up your hand and I'll hopefully spot you and we can let you in. But happy again to take questions, and also happy if anybody wants to have a follow-up call privately after the call in the coming days, or get feedback on last year's entries, as always happy to do that. So what I'm going to cover today is the overview of the awards, the judging process. Again, there'll be some changes this year, and just dates for your diaries, and very much the judging panel. You know, we've reviewed all of the categories. You see we've a new logo, a new color scheme this year. We avoided the COVID yellow. So hopefully it'll just give a fresher feel to this year's awards. And we have been realistic and taken account of the impact on COVID-19. So you'll see in practically every category there's criteria and questions around that. And we have a standalone category, which is the best response to COVID-19. And I'll talk a little bit about that. It's the very last category this year in terms of what that can cover. And we can discuss that in detail when we get to it. So as you know, everybody's muted on the call. But as I say, we're open to questions, and just put them in the box. I don't think I need to go to that. So first and foremost, why enter the awards? And great to see companies that have been there in the last number of years and have had major victories at the awards, and to obviously see some new companies involved today as well. And as you know, the awards are open to both members and non-member companies. So certainly spread the word. We've pushed it out on social channels. We love to see new companies getting involved every year, as well as obviously welcoming back the stalwarts who are there for the last number of years. And as always, the awards are about recognising what's happening in our industry. And I think, you know, to be fair, we're going to be launching hopefully early next week the research we've just undertaken with members on the impact of COVID and the plans for the future. And we really think that the plans for the future are very positive in terms of how the industry has pivoted, which I know is the new buzzword, and put in place the structures to continue to provide very high standards of customer service excellence in Ireland. And we really do want to recognise that as part of this year's awards. So we want to showcase what's good about the industry in Ireland. We want to give you all an opportunity, given the challenging few months we've all had, to be recognised for what you've managed to do, how you've managed to turn around your operation, to move to home working, 100% in some cases, and how you've had to put in technology, how management have had to change, team leaders have had to change. So all of that will be taken account in reviewing the submissions this year. And we really do want to give recognition to the teams and the individuals that have really had to work so hard in the last couple of months in making sure that you've continued to provide excellent customer service support to your clients. Obviously, the awards are used by some companies as a springboard for entering other awards. Again, it's a really nice accolade to have for your organisation. I know for some of the international organisations, they tell me all of the time that there's great recognition globally when they're successful at the Irish awards, and it really is an extra feather in their cap, as it were. That really gets focus and attention, and for some companies it hasn't resulted in them getting new streams of work into their Irish operation, because they've been able to show how successful they are in Ireland and how best in class they are in a particular area. So I really would strongly encourage you to consider that when you're looking at your entries. And also within an organisation, we very much recognise the buzz that the awards create, the feel good factor, which I think we all need at the moment, in individuals, teams, or the whole operation being recognised for what you've been doing and the work that you're doing. So as I say, we're very much going to reflect the impact and how companies and contact centres have had to cope with COVID-19. So as always, we have 17 categories. So I mentioned we have a new category, which meant we've dropped one category this year. So the category that's gone, just for those of you who might have been interested in, was the best sales campaign. We just felt that the response to COVID was a more important category to recognise this year. And for those of you at the awards ceremony, we tried to keep it as tight as possible. And even though it might be slightly different this year, we're conscious that we didn't want to be giving out tons of awards, and 17 we feel is the number we want to stick at. So hence there are 17, one new one and one gone out. So just to give a quick overview, but as I say, I'm going to go into them all in more detail. We have people categories, which is Customer Service Advisor of the Year, Team Leader, Support Professional Manager, Team of the Year and Support Team of the Year, and I'll go through what the differences are there. We then have Processes, which is training and development, use of technology, which is we split about 2 years ago into two separate categories. So one is tactical project and one is strategic program. And then actually there's an error on my slide there. We've changed the title of best use of social media. So it's actually best use of digital channels. And that is the category that will reflect all of what's happening in the digital space. And then in terms of the operations, we have Shared Services Centre of the Year, Outsourced Partnership of the Year, Best Customer Experience. We have the 3 Contact Centre of the Year, Small, Medium and Large. So small is generally 1 to 50 agents, medium is generally 50 plus to 200, and then large is 200 plus. And again, the criteria is the exact same for those 3 categories. It just depends. You enter which one reflects the number of staff you have in your contact centre. I'll come back to the judging process. I want to now just go through the actual application pack, if that's okay. And as you can see there, we have the 20, sorry, just adjusting my screen here. We have the 20 award categories, or the 2020 award categories and the 17 award categories. Just to remind you, the closing date for entries is Wednesday, the 2nd of September, 5 p.m. And we only accept entries via email. So we don't need hard copies. It takes away a good bit of the work, hopefully, for you. And we ask for them to be emailed to the awards@ccma.ie email address. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go quickly through the various categories, really just highlighting where the changes are from last year. And, again, as I say, I'm happy to take questions, but also to have a chat with you afterwards if that's easier. So the first one is Best Training and Development Program, and this is generally a very popular category, and it is really for companies who feel they have a training and development program that has really had a significant impact on the organization, and be it through the delivery, the design, just the impact it's had, the return on investment, as it were. And we've also, as you'll see there, said specifically, if there was any COVID related training program. So we know, again, from a training and development point of view, training and development departments have really had to change how they deliver training. They had to do it very quickly. Specific COVID training had to be brought in place, but it had to turn around very quickly. So any of those sort of programs or projects would absolutely be of interest to the judging panel for this category. And what we've said there, you see in criteria 2, is outline any changes, adaptations that had to be made due to COVID-19 crisis, or if, as it is, as I said, it is a specific program that had to be brought in place due to COVID-19, that absolutely sits within this criteria. And just to explain, and this applies to all categories, so I'll just go through it for this first one. In the purple section, we basically give an overview of what we're looking for, what this category is for. We also confirm what the word count is, which in this case is 2,500. And we mention about appendices, which should not be more than 5, and in terms of supplementary information that should be included. So we are very strict on word count because we have to be, because sometimes some companies give us a lot of material and they can sometimes give up to 4 or 5 times the word count, and that's why we brought in a word count several years ago, because to make it a level playing field for everybody and to ensure there's consistency in terms of how the criteria are being addressed, and also to make the judge's job a little bit easier, because there can be a lot of material sometimes. So we are very strict, and we will check word count, and we ask in the application form to confirm the definitive word count. So you'll see there, just as I said, in that first category, best training and development, where we reference there in section 2 the COVID element. Otherwise, it's practically very much the same sort of information that we've looked for before: an overview of the program, information on the design and delivery, information on the results, any innovation that you think particularly relates to this program, and any follow through. So the learnings from the delivery of the training and what the future plans are. And as you can see, we're very clear there. There's 5 headings, 5 sections. Within each section, there's a number of questions, and we clearly show what the marks are for each section. So again, for people who are new to the awards, we really ask that you follow these headings and criteria. It just makes it very simple from a judging perspective, that judges can contrast and compare different submissions, but it also makes it very simple for the allocation of marks and marks against the criteria that are there. So the same for best customer experience. Now, this would be considered one of our big awards. So this is this and contact center of the year, and the individual ones would be the biggest categories. And this award category, we know, takes a lot of work to pull together. And sorry, just going to my notes for a second. So again, we have taken account here of COVID. So you'll see there in section 2, describe how COVID-19 has impacted your business and the delivery of customer service. And then most importantly, and this applies to any category where we're looking for performance information, we are saying there in section 3, provide performance results achieved for the last 12 months. And again, the 12 months is from the 1st of, I'll have to get this right now, I'll go to my notes, the 1st of July, bear with me, sorry, I'll get this out, but otherwise I'll give you the wrong dates. Yeah, sorry, the 1st of August 2019 to the 31st of July 2020. So what we do there is we allow that people are working on submissions, and that the closing date for entry is early September. So we sort of give you, a defined period that we'd like the data from, but we're absolutely recognizing that this year there may be a dip in performance because of what has happened with COVID and people having to pivot and restructure and reset up their contact center operations. So don't be afraid to give us that data, warts and all, because there'll be an expectation that, service levels will have dropped. Maybe customer net promoter scores have dropped, even though some members are saying to us, in fact, they've actually improved because of the channels. And I just think maybe people are probably, more patient and more willing to accept where maybe there has been small delays. But certainly do show us, or we will see pretty clearly graphically what the difference is pre and post COVID, or during COVID, as we should say, really. So best customer experience, as I say, is the one where it's really about how you've delivered your customer service over the last year, any changes that you've made, any new programs you've initiated. I know some of the guys from Virgin are on the call, and I know they've won this award for the last 3 years, and I'm sure there's many others on the call trying to get them off that pedestal. So it's a really strong category. It's a great category to enter, but we do appreciate it takes a bit of work. And you'll see there we're also looking for data on staff as well as data on customers, and also the impact on technology, or what you've been doing from a technology perspective. So next category then, outsourced partnership of the year. And again, for those on the call who will be entering for this category, we have allowed, again, within section 2 and section 4, what it has meant for the outsourced partner in terms of the delivery of customer service. So again, we know many outsourced partners have had their staff working remotely and working from home. So a little bit about how that has been achieved and what the impact has been, and also how that has worked in terms of people management. So you'll see that there, section 2 and section 4, what we're looking for there in terms of the impact of COVID. And otherwise, as before, we're very much looking for an understanding. This category is really about the depth of the partnership between the outsourced company and the client, and generally, if this is shortlisted, and the same for customer experience, there will be a presentation. Now, normally they're face-to-face presentations. This year, again, depending on where we are in September, October time, they may need to be through a webinar such as this, or online or virtual, as it were. And we very much, with this one, a company will have the approval of their client to enter this category, and we would always ask that a client it comes along to the presentation when a company is shortlisted in this category. This is the only criteria or category, which is category 4, best use of technology strategic program, where we don't have anything to do with COVID-19. And really, this is because this is a bigger program that we would envisage, has been implemented over the last number of years. Previously, we had it had to have a budget in excess of $1 million. This year, we've actually brought that down to 500,000. So really, we're looking for companies who have made a significant investment in terms of how they use technology in their contact center. And it is very much a strategic program, and we want to hear about that. And again, I know in previous years when I've talked to companies who've looked at this category, they have felt that, maybe they were midway through the implementation of a very large scale program on new technology, and they weren't in a position to enter because they didn't have the results. So what we're saying here is, if you now have the results to show the impact and the benefits that were realized from the implementation of this technology and this restructuring or whatever it might have been, that this is the category for you, and this is the one to enter. And again, you'll see clearly the 5 criteria with the marks for each criteria. Now, for the next category, which is best use of technology tactical project, very much this can be COVID related. So this can be, and we're hearing all sorts of stories, of great work that's been done by internal IT departments to get everybody working from home and to put in place all of the security and the technology and the rerouting of calls, all of that type of thing that has had to be done to help staff to be supported from a technology point of view, but also obviously to be able to help deal with client queries and customer queries. So you'll see again there, criteria 1, what was the business challenges to overcome, and we have in brackets, this may include COVID-19. Doesn't have to be anything to do with COVID-19. It could be a tactical project that you have brought in anyway, or a new one that you're bringing in terms of supporting employees or getting data to employees, knowledge-based management. I know Sun Life actually won, I think, this category a number of years ago for a very clever knowledge-based management program that they had brought in place. So it can be anything in that space either. And again, you'll see we have 5 criteria there. And again, as I say, it's the COVID aspect is there in section 1, but it does not have to be a COVID-related project. So best use of digital channels is category 6. This used to be best use of social media. We feel, digital has obviously extended now into, messaging and web chat and all of the different channels that are now in place by organizations. And for this one, you don't have to have every channel in place. So, it can be that maybe you feel your results in one particular channel are very favorable and, is something worthy of winning this award. And again, I know some of the guys from AIB are on the call. I think they've won this for the last couple of years. So again, I know that it can be a very competitive category. So what we're looking for here is for, how you're using digital channels, what the impact has been, what the feedback has been from customers. Again, in relation to COVID, we know that some companies put new channels in place, so they had to, because of the restrictions around technology and moving calls, they had to turn off their phone lines and turn on messaging or web chat. So again, if you had to do that, it can be, the story of that and what the outcomes have been, what the measurements of success were, what the customer engagement and feedback was, and how it has improved the service that you have delivered to your customers. And again, in all of these categories, we'll ask for sort of learnings and future plans. And we're always very keen to know, given in this case what you have done in the digital space, what your plans are for going forward and how you'll continue to use digital channels to provide customer service support. So we go into the people categories now. So in all of the previous ones, the word count was 2,500 words in total. In the people categories, for the next 3 people categories, we've reduced that to 1,500. And again, we just feel it keeps it tighter, keeps it simple. And we certainly feel we get enough information on the candidates for this category in 1,500 words. So we would really advise and ask you to continue to recognise we have a lower word count in these next 3 categories. And again, for this category, for people who are shortlisted, we have a telephone interview. So that'll be the same case this year. It says interview, it's not really an interview, it's more of a chat, and it's no more than generally 15 minutes maximum. It's generally around 10 minutes, and that's something that we coordinate with the person who has submitted the entries. This is by far our most popular category, and we really want to see lots of people here again this year, because I think it is recognising the frontline people who've had a tough few months, and it's a very challenging job in the best of times. So we really do want to see all of the excellent frontline staff that have been working for your organisation and your operation put forward here. Because it's one of the most popular, it is very competitive, and in every year it's a very difficult call to make when we're letting people know that their candidate hasn't been shortlisted. But we really would encourage you to look at this as a category that can really give something back to everybody this year, and recognise the individuals who have gone above and beyond, as we say, in this category. So again, we look for the profile of the customer service advisor. Again, here we've asked if the role has changed in any significant way due to COVID, for instance, that the person has had to work from home, and any challenges that might have addressed. But again, it doesn't have to be somebody, I know a lot of contact centres are still able to operate with social distancing in place. Again, performance against targets, and again, recognising there'll be, pre-COVID and now as things currently are. Can I highlight in terms of section 3 there, the customer focus? We're going to be really strict this year on customer, peer and management testimonials, and we are really asking to limit it to 5, because we have challenges some years in that we know these people are superb, but some years we get up to 20 testimonials for individuals, and it's unnecessary. We feel 5 is more than enough to give us a flavour of how peers, management rate this person. We know by the very fact that they're entered into this category that they are, a customer service advisor who is excelling in their role. And then the other thing just to mention, just to go back up there for a moment, is that very much they have to be in their current role for a minimum of a year. So just to be aware of that as well. Okay. Similar for the team leader. Again, 1,500, again, there'll be a shortlist and there will be an interview. And again, we're just asking how their role has changed due to COVID. We're also looking for any results in terms of their team. And again, before and during the COVID crisis. We're also looking for people management. So again, we recognise that the team leader role in many cases has changed significantly, where they're now trying to manage a team remotely. So again, any team leader that you feel has come up with an innovative way of supporting their team, or have had to completely change their mode of operation, we'd really like to see that story as well. And obviously, generally, a team leader is somebody who is involved in other parts of the organisation and is the one that's on project teams for maybe new programs that have been brought into place. And again, education qualifications. Just to say, with any of these criteria, if there is no material for that particular question that we ask, so if, for instance, there is no education qualifications that are relevant perhaps to the role that the team leader has completed, don't ignore the question, just let us know there's nothing relevant. So rather than ignore a question there that we want to assign marks to, if the material isn't there, if the person hasn't done, for example that the team leader keeps up to date, if they haven't done anything in that space, just give us a line to say there's no information on that criteria, rather than ignore it. And then I'll move on to category 9, which is support professional. And this is a one that sometimes we can get a lot of questions on. So this really is anybody in a role that is supporting the operation of the contact centre. So we would have people entered into this category that are workforce planners, HR personnel, IT support professionals, coaches, trainers. So it's anybody in those type of roles that are crucial to the operation of the contact centre, but aren't a frontline person, as it were. So again, we're looking for the profile of the support professional, again, if their role has changed due to COVID. their performance. Now, again, I know it can be more challenging, this criteria for a support professional, because not all of them will have measurements in place that, you know, are similar to what we use to measure performance of advisors or a team leader and their team. But any stats that you can provide. But again, if you don't have stats like that, just simply say, due to the nature of the role, it's, you know, there aren't measures in place that we can measure the performance of this support professional. Again, how they work with other teammates and the collaboration, anything they've done to improve service and any innovation, and again, their personal development. And again, just reminding you to keep the testimonials to 5 if possible, but 5 ideally. So manager, we go back up to 2,500 for the word count. And that again is because we look for a lot of information in this category, because this is one of the really, you know, all of the people awards are very important. With this, with our sort of Ireland Inc. hat on, we are very much looking for, you know, people to step up and stand out. And again, this can be a category that we have to really push people to enter, because managers, by their very nature, some of them don't want to be seen to be the ones putting themselves forwards and looking for all the accolades, and very much will say, look, it's about the team that I'm working with. But for the industry in Ireland, we think it's really important to show and showcase the depth of managerial managers and professionals that are working in the industry. Now, this person needs to be at a senior level. So again, we say that they need to have full responsibility for the operation of the contact centre. And again, if any of the contact centre activities are outsourced, we'd like information on that. But I think very much make sure the very first line of this award is the full accountability for the operation as a business unit. So again, if there's somebody that you're thinking of putting forward, or if you yourselves are thinking of putting yourself forward, certainly feel free to give me a call, and I can let you know whether we think that person is at a senior enough level. But we really do encourage people to enter this category, because we really think it's good for the industry. And you know, the track record of people that have won this award, I know we've had a lot of senior executives in Dell win it. I know Annette, who's now site lead or head of PayPal in Ireland, has won it. I'm trying to think, Vinny Walsh from Phone Watch, and I'm missing people. I know we've had a couple of winners from Virgin as well. So anybody I've forgotten, apologies for, but absolutely we would like to see you know, senior industry people put themselves forward for this category. And again, you'll see the reason we increase the word count is that we do look for a lot of information in terms of people management and stakeholder management, and obviously personal development and thought leadership. So moving on, category 11 is team of the year. So again, this is for a frontline team. We generally say, you know, a team probably needs to be a minimum of 3 or 4 and a maximum of 20. Now, most contact centres, I know that the ratio of team leader to team members is probably around 12 to 14, but we are happy to accept up to 20. If it's sort of 50, 60 in a team, we feel that's more like a business unit. So, you know, it's not really for this category. But again, it's for a team operating within a contact centre, a shared services environment. And we really want this one to give us, you know, get an understanding of the team dynamics and the culture of the team. So as much information as you can share as possible within the confines of the 2,500 words. So again, you'll see we talk about the impact that COVID might have had on how this team is operating. We also talk about the performance before and during COVID. And I know a lot of our webinars have been about engaging and keeping people engaged. And actually the survey, you know, one of the top challenges that has come through on that has been, you know, keeping team members engaged and people feeling, you know, missing that whole team dynamics because they're working remotely. So, you know, information and how you can share how that has worked. And we know there's some really clever and fun things going on in companies and contact centers to keep teams together, and also to keep up that competitive element and have a little bit of fun between teams as well. So again, anything like that you can share with us for this category would be really useful. And again, we look for testimonials, customer and peer testimonials for a maximum of 5. Support team of the year, again, similar criteria, and the only difference with team of the year and support team of the year is your frontline team. Support team of the year, again, can be a back office type team who are looking after, you know, business intelligence, workforce planning, credit management, human resources, training and development, quality assurance, business process improvement. So you can see there's a whole range of possibilities there as to what the support team can be doing. Again, it's not a definitive list. Again, we would ideally keep the numbers to about 20 on the team and no more than around 3 or 4. And again, you'll see the criteria is pretty simple in terms of the profile of the team, how they've performed, their training and development, their best practice, and their value to the business. Okay, I'm conscious of time, so I'll keep going. We're on to category 13, which is Shared Services Centre of the Year. So again, a Shared Services Centre is very much around, operations that are looking at, finance, HR, IT, payroll, procurement, technical support and tendering. I know companies like Sun Life, Abbott have entered this categories in previous year, and obviously, hopefully, they'll be there again this year. And I think Arima were there last year as well. So very much it's to give an overview of the shared services operation. Again, any impact that you'll see a complete section there in responding to COVID-19 crisis, because again, we know a lot of those have had to, begin working from home or working remotely. But again, in general, we're looking for what the impact the shared services unit has had, or centre has had, improved efficiencies, cost reductions, continuous improvement, processes and integration, a focus on staff, and a focus on technology, innovation and development. And again, the criteria or the word count for that category is 2,500. So for the next three categories, they are the Customer Contact Centre of the Year, small, medium and large. The criteria is the exact same for all three. The word count is the exact same for all three. And again, for this category, we bring the word count up by about 500 because again, these are one of the big categories of the night. So we do look for additional information. And we do ask that if you enter this category, you also enter two other categories. And that really, from a judging perspective, is to give the judges the opportunity to get a flavour for the organisation in other areas. So generally, people might enter an individual category or a team category, and also then obviously the small or the medium and large. So again, we've allowed for COVID and how it's impacted on the business, and how it's impacted on results and performance levels. But just quickly to go through it, so we look for an overview, how you've responded to the crisis, performance against key targets, staff acquisition, development and engagement, application of technology. And again, in these three categories, we look for how the contact centre operation is integrated with the entire organisation. And again, just to mention, for those three categories this year, there are two additional areas that we're focusing on in addition to COVID. One is we have included in section 4 there information on diversity and inclusion programs, and we think they're really important, and we haven't asked for that information before in previous years. So again, just to provide an overview of what your centre is doing in that very important space. And the other one is the green agenda, which you'll see there in criteria 6, the very last point, the contribution the centre makes to the green agenda and reducing carbon footprint. And again, these are new criteria because they're reflecting what we know is happening in contact centre operations, and we know the focus is on these key areas. So we'd like to know a little bit more about what your contact centre is doing in that space. I won't go through medium and large. As I say, the criteria is the exact same. You just see the difference there, where we're looking for 51 to 200 customer service advisors. Now, obviously, if it's 202, come back and let me know. But that's sort of the guideline that we give. I just see a question there. Site survey, Ashling. No, we don't actually do site surveys. Planning to go ahead with the site survey for contact centre categories. No, we'll do what we've done in previous year, which is a face-to-face presentation. That ideally we will have a face-to-face presentation in the Clayton, where normally there's 3 members of the judging panel, and we ask for 3 attendees for the contact centre, the company, the organisation that's shortlisted. And as I said, if we can't have those face-to-face with social distancing in place, we'll do it via a call or a webinar such as this. But we're hoping that we will be able to have it as a face-to-face interaction with the relevant guidelines in place. And they will be taking place in October time. I actually have the dates further on that I can share with you. Thanks, Ashling. So again, large is the same. So small, medium, and large, same criteria, same category or word count, etc. And then our new category. Now we're very much open to suggestions on this category this year in terms of what you may enter. It does not have to be the entire contact centre operation. It might be a particular team that you feel have done something really special. So again, you know, we're sort of open to suggestions and open to entries on this, but what we've asked and what we've tried to do is put a structure around it. And so what we're asking is an overview. So you know, what was the problem, what was the challenge, what you had to do, and we obviously all know what the problem and the challenge was. And we're asking for how you planned, what you have put in place, and how were the stakeholders managed. We're asking then for the solution. So again, it might be, you know, how you did pivot your organization to get everybody working from home, and the period you did it within, and the supports you've put in place, and the impact that has had, and you know what the customer service stats had. So we look at the solutions, we look at the performance across the different channels, and again, it might just be one channel. So again, if you're looking at this category and you feel one of the criteria you can't fulfill it because it isn't relevant, just give me a call and we can talk through that. And again, we'll just have to recognize when you're putting your entry in that you'll say, for instance, well, this only relates to one channel or whatever. So again, this is very much a learning exercise for us this year, but we do recognize the phenomenal work that has taken place and is continuing to take place, and we do want to recognize that. So how the staff were managed and any learning, and you know, our last question there is, do you believe the changes you have implemented will have a longer term use within your contact center? And again, going back to our survey results, which we will be sharing with you next week, it very much looks like quite a few companies do see that, you know, this time next year, some of the structures that are being put in place will still be in place, albeit not 100% of staff working from home or anything like that, but certainly it does look like companies are planning to continue to put those structures in place. So I don't know if there's any questions, further questions at this point. I'll just go back to the presentation briefly for a moment, just to go through dates. But again, feel free to put up any questions that you have. So just to go through the judging process with you. So we have a 12-person judging panel, and how it works is that we receive the entries, obviously, by soft copy. We agree the judges for various categories. And again, I say this every year, is different judges judge different categories. So if you're entering a number of categories, don't assume that the judge judging that category will have read your submission in another category. So basically, almost treat each entry in each category as a standalone. So, you know, do provide the overview, do provide the stats. So don't worry that maybe you're duplicating information between categories, because there will be different judges judging each category. Some will judge obviously more than a couple. Just to reassure you, every judge is an independent consultant that is an expert in the industry, and a lot of our judges have been with us for several years. They all sign an NDA, so any commercially sensitive information is absolutely secure. They're distributed securely, the entries, and they're retrieved after the judging is finished. So how it works is that the entries go out to each judge. There's a scoring matrix which is linked to obviously the marks that we outline in the application criteria. They score and they resubmit them back. Our chair of the judging panel is Yvonne Keaveney, who works with Prudential, and she's been our chair for the last several years. Yvonne collates all of the scores, and from that we generate a shortlist. And then how it works is, for certain categories, as I said, there will be a telephone interview. So for the advisor, team leader, support professional, if your candidate is shortlisted in that category, I will be in touch with you and we will arrange for a date when we do all of the telephone interviews with 3 judges. And at this point in time, we're hoping that they'll take place on the 5th of October. And we really try and give as much notice as possible, but it generally is only probably about a week's notice when we're saying they've been shortlisted and this is the day and this is the time that we'd like to have a chat with them. We can obviously generally change the time if it doesn't suit, but we certainly normally are restricted that it has to be that particular day. But I will give as much notice as possible to those companies and to those candidates. And obviously, if somebody's out of the office, if they're on holidays, we can rearrange it. Then presentations, and I have, as you see there, I've put in brackets, maybe remotely, will take place, all going well, the week of the 12th of October. And that will be for those categories there: small, medium and large, best customer experience, manager, outsourced partnership, and best use of technology strategic program. And as I said, generally it's 3 judges, and then we limit it to 3 representatives from the company. And obviously in the outsourced partnership case, it's generally the BPO partner and their client and one other. It doesn't have to be 3. If you only want to send 2 people, that's absolutely fine, but it is a maximum of 3. And generally the format of those is, it's no more than a half an hour meeting. We ask you to prepare like a 2 to 3 very short presentation, just highlighting the key aspects of your entry, because obviously the judges will all have read and scored them. And then it's very much questions from the judging panel around your entry and particular aspects of it. And then the judging process is very much that on the judging day, all the judges come together. Again, hopefully that will be face to face. And we discuss all of the entries, and we select a winner and a highly commended, if appropriate. And the individuals, so if it hasn't been a category that required a presentation or an interview, so all of the categories, you will be advised after that judging day and judges meeting whether you've been shortlisted, and on the night you find out who has won. So hints and tips, and again, actually, I might just go back briefly to the application pack, because I think we have a better section on hints and tips. So sorry, just lastly, to go back to the terms and conditions. As I said, the dates for entries are the 1st of August 2019 to the 31st of July 2020. You'll see there the cost per entry. There's a discount if you enter 3 or more. Again, we'll have an application form. It's not up there yet, but it will be up there shortly, that you can fill in, which includes a declaration that all of the information that you provide is accurate and truthful. And you'll see the email address there and the closing date of entry. Okay, so the do's and don'ts. So absolutely, we recommend that you form a project team to work on putting the entries together. And I know some companies have already started this, and we hope this is something positive for people to focus on, because we know a lot of people won't be going on holidays in the next while, or won't be traveling maybe. But we really do find that, you know, companies that start working earlier on this, it just makes it an awful lot easier to get your entry together, because it does take quite a bit of work. And even though you might have templates from previous years, you know, it's new information, it's fresh information that we're looking for, and we do find it works better than give the responsibility to one person, that a group of people work on it together. And again, this might be something that, you know, in the current structure and the way contact centres are operating with people remotely, that it's a nice project for a group of people to work on together as a team. So very much start working on submission as early as possible. Please do read the criteria carefully and note the marks, and you'll see where you should be allocating your word count to. Do follow the criteria headings and subsections within the format, because as I said earlier, it just makes it so much easier from a judging perspective. Do provide clear examples of initiatives and achievements. And just as an aside, sometimes people sort of contact me and say, what format should we put it in? I mean, most people put it in a Word document. Obviously, they sometimes get their graphics department to put in nice visuals, which you know, make it just easier to read. We find that people use PowerPoint as a template. It really restricts them. And we end up getting lots of bullet points with, you know, no real depth to some of the criteria that we're looking for. So very much, you know, a Word format, which is then put into a PDF with whatever graphics you need. You don't have to put in graphics, but normally it's nice to get some photographs of, you know, in the case of teams, of a picture of the team, or in an individual, a picture of the individual, or even a picture of the contact center operation. So very much I would encourage you not to use PowerPoint, because I really do think it restricts the level of information you can provide. Just going back to the do's there, include actual results, and again, show that graphically. I mean, I know we all use graphs in our contact centres to look at things like service levels and track net promoter score, so do present it visually. Within reason, include photographs, but again, you know, we don't need 10 pages of photographs, but just to give a feel and a flavour for the operation. I think they do bring it to life a little bit more. I said about presenting the statistics in a graphical format. Lastly, most importantly, please get someone outside the project team, and sometimes ideally outside the organisation, to read the entry, because what we find sometimes is that you have a lot of internal terminology that you might use that makes absolute complete sense to you and all of your teammates and all of your organisation, but for somebody outside the organisation, it is really difficult. And previously we've had companies have to give us a glossary of terms to explain what the different internal terminology is, so that we understand it. So do get somebody outside the organisation to read it, you know, husband, wife, partner, because actually what we find is sometimes a team are working so closely on it, and you understand your subject so intensely, but for somebody outside, objectively, not within the depths of the organisation, it might not make sense. So do get a third party, you know, with fresh eyes to have a look at it before you submit it, because they'll be able to say to you, well, look, that little bit doesn't make sense there, or you need to expand, or you need to explain that a little bit more. So strongly encourage you to do that. Don't ignore the criteria, and the fact that we tell you what marks are against the criteria. Please don't go over the word count. Very much we need to be strict on that, and that's just to be fair to absolutely everybody who takes the time to submit an entry. Avoiding company jargon and acronyms, as I said, and do not include material for the sake of it. So every word counts in an entry, because we are strict on the word count. So do make sure that what you're adding is. Previously, we've had companies throw in all of their marketing adverts for the last 2 years. 1 or 2 is great, but we don't need to see everything. And do not leave it till the last minute to create an award-winning submission plan, prepare and execute within the specified timelines. Just to say, in previous years, companies sometimes have included a very short video. You can embed a video within your submission. I don't think you need to, but if you have one that's already prepared, or if you think it gives us a better insight into the particular point you're trying to make, absolutely. But again, it will be taken account of in the word count. So, if there's a lot of wording around it or content in it, it just might restrict your word count. But you certainly can include it if you need be. But as I say, keep it short and concise if possible. And again, in every category, we're looking for you to say why you think you should win this category. So what is it about either your training program or this particular team or this particular individual that makes them stand out, and why you think they should win that. So really push that home, and don't be shy about putting forward why you really think you should win this category, and do really highlight that. Okay, so the dates for your diary. Closing dates for entry, 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 2nd of September. As I said, the full shortlisted will be announced after the 25th of October, after our Judges' Day. But for those that require the presentation and or interview, I will be in touch with you in early October. And I think that's basically it. I don't know if there's any other questions. Certainly happy to take them. And as I say, I'll put a copy of this presentation up on the website, on the page where we have our awards application pack. So happy to do that. Great. I don't think there's any questions. Great to see so many, and great to see so many companies coming on board this year. And we really will make sure that the awards ceremony will give us all an opportunity to hopefully relax and celebrate the year that's been in it, and the difficult year that everybody's had. But we really do anticipate that we will have a ceremony, and as I say, we will keep within whatever limits are relevant at the time. So thank you everybody for your attendance and your participation. And anybody that's any further questions that you want to come back to me on a one-to-one basis, please feel free to give me a call or to drop me an email, and we can set up a call. And look forward to seeing all the entries coming in. So thanks as always. A recording of the webinar will be available, and we'll have it up probably tomorrow at this point. So thank you, and Niamh, thanks as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.